Hello, I'm Susan Heitler. Angry couples pose difficult challenges for a therapist. Their turbulence and impulses to hurt can be frightening to them and to the therapist as well. Anger creates an unpleasant atmosphere, yet it signifies that a problem exists. Conflict-focused therapy utilizes anger to guide treatment. This approach includes three main thrusts: symptom reduction, the main symptom in this case being anger, resolution of existing conflicts, and improvement of conflict resolution skills so that subsequent problems can be resolved without arguments. These three dimensions of treatment form a structure for organizing the diagnostic data that a therapist collects in the first session. When anger is a prominent symptom, I want to know if it escalates beyond words to physical violence, if drugs and alcohol complicate angry episodes, or if either partner is angry in a paranoid fashion with a fixed ideational system. These conditions would need additional attention for therapy to proceed productively. As to the content of their conflicts, I ask couples to create a list of the topics that generate tension. This laundry list serves as a basic treatment outline. With regard to the process of conflict resolution, I identify skill deficits and reciprocal interaction patterns. In addition to this diagnostic assessment, a successful first session also needs to show the couple that treatment will be safe and worthwhile. Judith and Richard have been married 2.5 years. He's 34, she's 32. Before their first session, I ask new patients to fill out intake forms. These include a symptom checklist. I quickly review these checklists as the session is about to begin.
I would say more heavily in the last half a year to a year.
Richard and Judith both have noted anger and communication problems. And have you been to therapy before?
Yes.
For these problems?
Yes.
Want to tell me what your experience was there?
We were there. We had 4 sessions with another therapist, and every time we would go to this therapist, my husband and the therapist would talk about my problem. And it was like he didn't even have anything to do with this. It was all about me. And I felt they were talking about me.
Asking about previous treatment can alert the therapist to potential problems. What are you feeling right now?
I'm angry. Yeah. I'm angry because nobody's listening to me. I mean, I go to a therapist trying to get something done, and it's not working.
So it's very important for this therapy to work that if you begin to feel that angry feeling in here, will you be sure to tell me right away?
Okay.
Good.
But she'll also let you know, I think.
Hold on.
In Gangbusters, I mean, you're gonna...
Richard, hold on just a sec.
Sorry.
Let me just finish with Judith. I just want to be sure we're absolutely clear. Angry spouses will often talk for or about one another. These crossovers are almost always inflammatory. I intervene immediately to prevent them. Quick intervention shows Judith and Richard that here they will be safe and will be heard.
Yeah, I feel like he's accusing me of getting angry when I have every right to be angry.
Okay, things are going fast. Let's slow down just a sec. I can see that you are cooking. Judith ripples from topic to topic. Letting her continue picking up speed and anger would be counterproductive. What's going on with your anger? I want to catch up, though, and find out from you, Richard, what was your experience in the prior therapy? Symmetry is essential. It needs to be established right from the beginning of treatment, with special attention to symmetry of airtime. What was the problem for you?
The fact that she was... there's this anger that comes and comes and comes.
Where do you think it comes from, Richard?
It comes in waves.
Hold on, you two. Hold on. So you felt that the last therapy was unfulfilling or didn't accomplish what you wanted?
In my mind, that's the reason we're here, because we want to fix this problem.
Okay, good. Let's look at how to do that. Let's look first at exactly what the problem is, and then we'll look at how to fix it. Before we get into it, I'd like to make a recommendation, which is that usually in therapy sessions here, we tape the sessions. Repetition of the therapy sessions by listening to audio tapes during the week can significantly accelerate treatment. Okay, we're on. Let's clarify what it is that you want to get out of treatment here. And I'd like you to turn to each other and share with each other why you're here. Suggesting that the couple face each other and dialogue about their treatment goals serves multiple purposes. I look initially for a quick assessment of basic dialogue skills and deficits. I also evaluate ability to bring different viewpoints to consensus. Could you do that?
Well, one thing that Judy has...
Try talking with Judy and telling her what you want to get out of therapy here.
We've got to get your anger under control. This is getting ridiculous.
Oh, we have to get my anger under control. That's why we're here. That's why you think we're here? No.
To come to grips with the fact that even the smallest discussion escalates into an argument based on the fact that you can't seem to handle your anger.
Oh, why not?
Hold
No.
on just a sec here. Hold on.
It's because of his failure to commit to something that's very important to me.
So you're saying that for you there's something that you're wanting him to commit to.
Yes.
What is it that you want?
To have a family. He can't commit to that at all.
Tell me about your feelings about having a family. Rather than allow Judith to speak for Richard, I invite him to express his viewpoint.
I love having a big family. I just don't think that this is the time to have a child yet.
Why isn't this the time to have a child? What is it? When I'm 45 years old, Richard?
Please.
Hold on. How frequently do you get this upset at home?
I would say frequently.
Even when I'm trying to understand the diagnostic picture, I don't allow fights to escalate. What would have been the next step?
Well, he probably would have left the room because he doesn't want to talk about it.
And you would have...
Well, I would have kept talking about it. I don't just run away. I talk about things.
So you would have tried to keep talking about
Yes.
things. And is her hunch accurate? Would you have tried to leave the room, or what would you
Not
have
because
done?
I don't want to talk about it, but because it's the tone. She comes at me with gangbusters.
Hold on just a sec. Hold on. When I say hold on here, I really like that you stopped just now. Because one element in making this therapy a positive experience for both of you is we are not going to repeat in this room what goes on out there. Now, when I say cut, that's it. You quiet down. And I was very impressed, Judith, that you did stop when I asked you to. Is that an agreement you're willing to make with me?
Yes.
Good.
And
Hold on.
Sorry.
I just want to ask the exact same question of you. If you get agitated or are doing something and I say cut, are you willing to stop?
Of course I'm willing to stop.
But I still want to say what I have to say, and I don't feel like I'm getting to say it.
Go for it.
Well, he can't commit to a family.
So what is it that you're saying about what you want? Why are you here?
I want Richard to be able to commit to a family and to be able to listen to me. We've talked about this.
Stop just a minute. I'm getting a little struck by the fact that both of you invest a whole lot of energy in talking about the other person. And in doing that, you miss the opportunity to convey what you want. Now I'm going to ask the question one more time, and let's pretend there's a wall here so that you can't see Richard, that he's not even here.
Okay.
And instead, all you can see is you and what you want. Now, what is it that you would like to get, what you want by the end of this treatment for you? I want
a family. I want to be listened to.
Hold on a sec. I want to write those two down. Listen to, and you want a family.
Okay.
Do you feel like I heard the critical piece about what you want?
Yeah, but I have so much anger in me, and I have so much I
see
need to
that.
get out, and I feel like I get there, and then you say stop, and I
Right.
get there, and you say stop,
Right.
and I need to get it out, because he
Right.
certainly doesn't listen. You're supposed to
Right.
listen to me.
This is a dilemma. Let me think for a minute. On the one hand, you want to get all of that fire out.
Yeah, I want to get it out. I want
At the same time, at home, when you get it out, does it seem to result in some change, something good happening?
No, because he doesn't listen. He
Right,
walks away.
right.
He leaves.
And that's a common thing that most people don't like to receive. The fire. It's like you're a dragon breathing fire if you're angry.
Well, how
That's
else
how
am I supposed to
people are
get
like.
what I feel out? I can't.
That's exactly what we're here to learn. How else can you get out what you want?
But that's not why I'm
Without being
here. I'm here
unproductive.
because I want a family and I want Richard
Right.
to commit to me and I
Right.
want to find out why
Okay.
he can't commit to me.
Things get going real fast here. We're going to slow down a bit. Not because I don't want to hear you, but because I do want to fully understand this problem that is a very real one, of wanting to be heard
Mhm.
and of wanting to have a family. I don't think more explosions of anger, if they haven't worked at home, they're not going to work here. And besides, we know
But I'm
that's not what
angry.
makes changes.
I'm angry. I'm not somebody who's just coming in and I just want a family and I just...
I really do understand. I see that you're very angry. Tell me, when you're that angry, what helps you to calm down?
I don't know.
Do you have trouble calming down once you're angry like that?
Oh, does that look like I
Oh,
have
hold
trouble
on.
calming down?
Hold on. I want to know from you because you're the only one that knows what goes on inside of you.
I don't think about it. I just do it. It's like I'm
Right.
mad now, so I'm letting it out. I don't
I
think
see.
about it.
And then after you let it out, what do you experience? I address the common misconception that releasing anger is positive because it gets it out by focusing Judy on the actual result of her anger outbursts.
You
You're
understood?
saying that after you let the anger out, your belief while you're doing it is that somehow this is going to be helpful. And after the anger's out, you're still left with a not very good feeling. Is
Right,
that
because he
accurate?
doesn't listen to me. If he
Right.
listened to what I was saying,
Right.
if he heard exactly what I was
Right.
saying, and we could talk about it afterwards, then I would feel better.
I think that that's exactly right. Now, I want to switch to Richard to find out what he experiences and whether he is hearing you when you're letting it out. And I don't know until I ask him.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
Richard, what have you been experiencing as you've been listening to us talk?
Is this wall still up here? Is it safe to be over here?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, that's a good idea. Just focus on you, not on Judith or what she's been doing, but on what you've been experiencing over the last few minutes.
Well, it's somewhat embarrassing to share certain things
So you
like
feel
this.
embarrassed, that's one piece.
We're in a therapist's office.
Okay.
We're not in some
Judith,
country
What can I
club.
tell you?
Judith.
What can I tell you?
Judith.
It's a stranger and it's embarrassing a little
Richard,
bit.
hold on. I want to practice just for a minute the cutoff and set an additional rule. The rule is going to be when you're talking or talking to me, your role is to listen to try to understand and not to react verbally. I'll ask you your reactions later. If you interrupt, it's pretty hard for us to get forward momentum. And Richard, the same for you. When the wall is up and I'm talking with you, Judith, it's not for you to interrupt. Can you follow that rule, both
Yes.
of you? Second, if there's a slippage, do you remember what I said about when I say stop, I really mean it. I don't mean one or two sentences later. I mean stop means stop.
I
Are
can
you
do
both
that.
clear about that?
Yes.
Okay. What went on within you during those few minutes while Judith was being angry?
It made me feel uncomfortable.
You were feeling uncomfortable in...
It's incessant
No, wait.
and
You're talking about her again. I can see this is fairly difficult for you.
Well,
What I'm asking you to do is focus on you, the
Listen.
sensations that were going on within you.
it makes me feel uncomfortable.
You were feeling uncomfortable. Now, what I'd like you to do is to describe that uncomfortable feeling. Like, did a thought go with that?
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to withdraw.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So, let's back up. When something happens that reminds you how much you want a family and the difficulties you two are having making that happen, then you get quickly very angry. Is that how you experience it?
Yes.
Okay. As you get very angry, you experience an uncomfortable feeling,
Can I say something?
and the thought that comes to mind is something like, stop.
Yeah.
All right?
But
Your remember our rule? We had 2 rules so far. Why don't you tell me what they are?
I feel like we're in kindergarten here. I know the 2 rules.
Ah.
It's just that
I like your comment. I'm feeling a little like we're in kindergarten also. That is, this constant interrupting It's like little kids fighting. Do you feel sometimes like you two are little kids fighting?
No, I don't. I feel like we're two adults and one of them doesn't listen.
Judith, there's a number of things that we're going to have to change if you're going to get what you want. I feel myself getting impatient. Rather than express irritation, I pause for a moment to calm myself and think. My irritation signals that I need to focus more on Judith's escalations. These are changes that must stop if we're going to spend our time together productively.
Okay.
Rule number 1.
Stop talking when you say stop.
Thank you. Rule number 2.
Do not interrupt when you're talking to him.
Right. Thank you. I can see that urge to get into what word for you? I mean, use the word anger. It's almost like
I just get angry. It's like I'm on a train track that doesn't stop. I mean, it's going faster and faster and faster, and I can't stop until I say everything that I have to say.
That's a lovely description of it. That really fits with how it looks for me as well. What's your hope about what's going to happen as that train goes faster and faster?
I hope that I can get everything out. And
what would getting everything out accomplish?
All my feelings, all the anger that I have, so he can hear me. I mean, I feel like if I talk loud and if I say everything I have to say, that he's going to hear me. Because if I talk softly, by framing Judith's anger as an attempt to accomplish something positive, we can explore more effective means of attaining her goal.
So your goal in the train going faster and faster is twofold: to get everything out of you and have him hear it.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Would you be willing to find a more effective way to get the information and feelings inside of you out so that he really will hear them?
At this point, I switch the focus of the intervention from gathering diagnostic information to demonstrating the kind of communication that the couple will be learning if they go ahead with treatment.
We're going to try an exercise to convey information in a different way.
Okay.
Without any trains and with you feeling safer.
Okay.
Judith, let's begin with you trying one more time just to say in a gentle way, one sentence that gets at the essence of what you want Richard to hear. So before you talk, you actually have to pretend that he's going to hear you. Your job is to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So you just take in with as much understanding as you can muster what Judith is telling you. Even if you've heard it 1,000 times before, this time, let it really sink in. Can you share with him what it is that you want?
I want to have a family with you now. I mean, I want children. But I want them now. I don't want them.
What did you hear? All the elements of what you heard.
You told me that you'd like to have children now, not in years, but now. And that's what you need.
Whoops, there was one other important piece there I heard. Who does she want to have children with?
Well, with me. Sorry.
Do you feel that he heard you that time?
Yes. I feel that I was heard and that he was really listening to me.
Good. Let's build from there.
Okay.
Richard, what do you want Judith to know about your feelings about having children and what you want in this relationship?
This is tough. Well, I want you to know that I want this to work out.
What would work out mean to you? That's still kind of vague.
I suppose it is. I want this to flow. I want this to happen nicely. I want us to be a family, and I don't want there to be speed bumps. There's too much.
Okay, hold on just a minute. We're slipping into what you don't want rather than what you want.
I want Judith to be.
Oops, just a minute. Try once again, and rather than I want Judith, what you want to experience in this relationship.
I'm sorry. I would like you to be less
Hold
angry.
on. Let me help you. Who are you talking about right now? You talking about you, or are you talking about Judith? You're talking about Judith. I'd like to help you out here.
I move my chair in to help Richard along, serving as his mouthpiece, so that the dialogue can keep moving forward.
I'm going to try to say what I think I'm hearing. Judith, I want to raise a family with you. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And I want it to be in an environment that's calm and happy.
That's what I've been trying to say. I would
What?
like I would like our environment to be calm so we can raise a family. That would be important. And that's what I need.
What are you hearing?
What do I feel, or what?
What did you hear?
I hear that he wants a calm life. I mean, a calm family life.
It seems very simple to have just a happy family, but in order to have the calmness that it's I think maybe a give and take, and
I agree with that.
and it would be a wonderful environment for little ones to
Little
run
guys.
around,
This dialogue felt different to me.
As the dialogue about therapy goals comes to a resolution, Judith and Richard soften, shifting from confrontational stances to collaborative affection. With this shift comes a restoration of hope.
And although I'm sure that shift happens at times at home, otherwise you wouldn't be together. What we're going to learn in this therapy is how to make an environment where you're most of the time, virtually all of the time, in this modality. For now, I'm concerned about those episodes when you're in the fighting, withdrawing interaction. And I want you to hear how I said that. Fighting, withdrawing. The problem is not just your freight train. The problem is also the running away. Here's how I'd like you to do it this week, and then we'll talk more next week. If you feel yourself beginning to accelerate like that,
Okay.
just excuse yourself and go in the other room. Could you do that? Try it this week.
Without resolving anything.
Right.
Just when I get that way, just go in the other room.
Before the first session ends, it's vitally important to address emotional and physical safety with an angry couple. They need to at least begin to develop a disengagement strategy so that moments of anger no longer escalate into hurtful fights.
You to understand, Judith, and you to understand, Richard, that we are going to learn to talk together. For now, your job, Richard, is to get back to good humor. Your job, Judith, is to get back to good humor. You're responsible for soothing yourself, and you're responsible for soothing yourself. So my sense, seeing these last few minutes, is that you have a lot of potential to have a real quiet and comfortable and happy, and yet still kind of open and talkative household. To get there, you're going to need to learn some skills, not for just casually talking with each other, but skills for talking about tough issues.
Communication skills.
Yeah. So I would like to recommend that we begin treatment by building skills, and then we move into actually using those skills to resolve the conflict.
So, okay.
I got a question for each of you. In your gut, what's your sense of how long it's going to take to accomplish the calm and the clarity about having a baby that you both are looking for?
How would we know something like that? How do we know how long this should go?
Okay. Just close your eyes and check inside. There'll be some inner timetable within you. I know it sounds kind of crazy. Try it.
I know already. I mean, I think that, I mean, I would like it to be resolved in like 4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I suppose 4 to 6 weeks would be
You were thinking 4 to 6 weeks?
somewhere in there.
Okay, I was thinking more like 4 to 6 months. So we have a pretty big discrepancy here. Let's figure out what to do about it. I guide a quick process of conflict resolution, clarifying our concerns and then determining a mutually agreeable solution. What about you, Richard? Would you be willing to do a 2-step process and to have a short-term goal plus a longer-term commitment to treatment?
I'm in this for the long haul. I think something needs to be done.
Great. Now I have one more question for you both. If we're going to show dramatic progress in those first 4 to 6 weeks, you'll have to do some homework. In response to my concerns about how much they had to learn in so little time, Judith and Richard agreed to do homework. They would devote at least a half hour of every weekday night to listening either to a skill-building audio tape or to their session tapes. I'd like to summarize what I see that we've accomplished. I'm careful to frame the summary in terms of reciprocal interactions. I'm struck that you've had a pattern of these big explosions with a lot of residue. Second, that you've been withdrawing in order to get some kind of calm. We're instituting a new way to get calm, which is a mutual disengagement rather than one person withdrawing and the other being left screaming alone.
Okay. Right.
Third, for many couples, one issue is like a tack in a shoe. Addressing that one issue eliminates most of the couple's fighting. Other couples can specify a list of provocative issues. For these, a laundry list strategy is useful, that is, addressing the issues one by one and learning communication and conflict resolution skills en route. A third group of couples exists in a state of chronic hostility. For them, the process is usually the problem and needs to be addressed first. Judith and Richard combine the first and third types. They have one major conflict, her desire for children now versus his for calm before kids. At the same time, their poor communication skills result in frequent day-to-day living arguments. Conflict-focused treatment includes insight, behavioral, and systemic components. So a therapist needs 3 types of intervention techniques. Visualization techniques access subconscious concerns. Coaching and teaching exercises build new communication habits. And negotiation skills guide the resolution of conflicts. I may use several interventions within one session. The key is to be clear at every point what my objective is: symptom reduction, resolving a specific conflict, or skill building. Welcome.
Thanks.
What would each of you like to focus on today?
I'd like to work on our skills.
Skills, which is what we had said we would focus on these first 6 sessions.
I'm having a problem with the disengaging.
What's the problem?
Well, the other night Richard, we were starting to have an argument, and I felt like I was escalating, I guess, and right as I felt like I was going to make a point, Richard disengaged it. And I want to talk about that because I have a real problem with the other night.
I see. And I'm remembering that I had said if something bothered you, that it was important to bring that in here, and we would follow up on
And
it.
so today I want to talk about that. I don't want it to go,
Good.
unnoticed.
I begin every session with agenda setting, asking each spouse to identify what he or she wants to focus on, and also asking myself what seems to be important based on prior sessions.
So we have 2 agenda items: skills and talking about whatever it was that was on your mind when you wanted to.
When he disengaged.
Let's do both. And the way we'll do both is we'll start talking about that incident.
Okay.
As soon as I hear something that sounds like a skill that we need to focus on, we'll work on that skill. Then we'll use that new skill to make it easier for us to continue talking about that. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
As quietly and gently as you can, share with Richard now what you had been trying to tell him before.
I would like to
Great.
come into your space and feel needed and wanted, and not feel like that I'm a guest in there. I feel like I'm a guest when I come into your study.
Well, the study is in the house, it's a part of our house. That is fine, yes. But that is a particular day, Sunday, where I make the
Stop just a sec, please. What happened just then?
Because he's not listening to what I'm saying again.
Do you know what you did? Excuse me. Do you know what you did that made her think you weren't listening? You said the word "but," which sounds pretty innocent and yet is remarkably potent. Let's look what happens with the word "but." I'm going to say something. No, you say something to me, just a short sentence about anything in the room, whatever.
Well, you look very nice today. Thank you for dressing up.
Oh, but this is just something I wear all the time. What happened to the information about how I look?
Well, it was actually a compliment, and you turned it around and
Yes, it turns it around.
turns it around.
And your hands did something interesting as you were saying that. They went like this. It's almost as if I threw out the information.
Yeah,
The
I
information
was just
kind
going to
of...
say that.
Yeah.
You seemed you threw it out.
Mm-hmm. Let's do some more. You say something to me.
See,
Notice what happens with my
I mean,
word "but."
Excuse me, but I don't feel like I have to do that. I understand, but I understand
Okay.
this.
But I don't.
Stop.
understand this.
Stop. Good, thank you. I appreciate the way you two are stopping right away. I have a hunch you do understand "but," especially because you react so strongly to it. And, not "but," and you can help us out by participating in this. Richard does need work. And one of the critical pieces that went wrong in the prior therapy was too much focusing on you and your anger, and not that the same degree of focusing or enough focusing on Richard. Until Richard learns to hear you more effectively, you're going to feel alone and unheard. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah. So, did you feel criticized, or like I was saying, you have a problem with "but" when I asked you to participate?
No.
Whoops. You know what? I heard the "but." You know what? Maybe that you have a similar problem. Will you join us in working on this? For him, and also perhaps for you.
Okay.
It would help me.
Okay.
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 Are you feeling calmer?
Yes.
Uh-huh. It struck me as funny that you started with "but" when you were saying you don't
I
have
know,
that problem.
contradicting myself.
Okay, let's go back to the drill.
Okay.
It's real important you understand what "but" does.
Okay.
So it's your turn. Try saying something to me, and I'm going to "but" it, and I want you to tell me what you feel as I say "but" to you.
You have a nice laptop over there.
But the power keeps going out.
Again, it's a negative, or you're not really listening to what I'm saying. It's an
Mhm.
excuse.
Okay, what we're going to work on is a different form of dialogue, additive dialogue. What three-letter word suggests addition?
And
You got it. So instead of using "but," which is like subtraction, we're going to use "and." Give me those same sentences that you gave me before, or something similar, and tell me what you experience when I respond with "and" instead of "but."
well, like I said earlier, you look very nice today. You have a good eye for wardrobe.
Thank you. And it's something I wear almost every day, really frequently. Got the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting frustrated, and I'm getting.
Okay. Let's do "yes and," only we're going to do it not talking about my clothes, talking about what happened. Share with Richard now what you were trying to share with him or say to him the other night.
I want to be able to come into your space, your study, and just hang out with you, and just be with you, and feel that you want me there, and feel that you're not bothered, or I'm not, I just want to feel needed and wanted when I come in there, and I feel like there's.
Well, let's cut.
I said "and."
Yeah. You did say "and." There's only so much information he can absorb at once. You said some real important things there, so...
Long monologues give too much information for a listener to absorb. Speaking in short chunks prevents loss of information.
You told me that you want to know that you can share the space in the study with me.
Right.
You want to be a part of that space.
Right.
Reiteration of what the prior person has said reassures the speaker that he or she has been heard. It also clarifies any misunderstandings.
In that room. You want us to be in that room together.
Right.
Good. Did you want to add another chunk?
Yes.
Go for it.
I know everybody has to have their own space, so to speak, but I feel that if you had...
Hold on just a minute. Remember about...
Oh, sorry.
Let's not even use it here.
Okay.
Let's try to keep it in.
Okay.
You know, everyone needs their own space.
I know everyone needs their space. I need my space. And
Ta-da.
I know that... I feel that if you had a chair in there, that it would just welcome me in there.
So you're saying you would like to have a chair in there?
Yes.
I would
like to have a chair in there.
Great. And I would...
And I would feel welcome. And I probably...
Stop,
you know,
just a minute. Stop.
did I say that?
Short chunks.
Our therapy goal has switched now from teaching skills to resolving a specific conflict. So when skill deficits emerge, I'll just note them enough to keep the dialogue on track.
First of all, I have no concerns about you being in that room. I never have.
Wait a minute. Sounds a little easy. Stop and think about it. Because you've talked before about that study, that's your, kind of retreat place. And it seemed to me, if I remember right, when you two disengage, that's where you go. Is that right?
I need to help Richard hear his own concerns as well as to hear Judith's.
So to stop and be sure, do you have any concerns about her coming into the study? And
I have a concern about her coming into the study. There, in essence, is no room for another chair. With stacks and stacks of things, and it's a little smaller than this office.
so what did you hear?
That, well, that there wasn't enough room in the room for a chair.
I sense that the chair in the study is a metaphor for the space Judith occupies in Richard's life.
There's not enough room for another chair.
Richard,
So close your eyes for just a minute. Picture the chair in that space.
Visualization helps to identify specific concerns.
Notice what that chair looks like. Got it for each of you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can open your eyes. Tell each other what chairs you were picturing. What kind of chair were you picturing?
The big black chair with the big thick arms that rocks back and forth.
And what kind of chair were you
Richard.
picturing? No, not to talk about him, but to talk about you. What kind of chair were you picturing?
a little nice, dainty chair,
How big?
like a not very big at all, very
Mhm.
small. I mean, just enough for me. It's not for anybody, but for me.
Well,
Mhm.
I have to admit that I misunderstood you then. I thought you wanted me to picture the
But
chair that was in there.
It's
My
not so
fault.
much that you, no, there's no fault here. Hold on
Give me
just a minute.
stool.
Hold on just a minute. No
The
need to get so
principle.
defensive or so apologetic. You simply had different information, and by getting at the specifics that each of you had in mind, we clear up the misinformation, and we get good information. This is a pattern we've seen before. Getting specifics rather than having vague ideas about what you're thinking or what the other person's thinking makes a big difference. So, would it be possible with that small chair that Judith was describing to fit a chair in this space?
I suppose there will be room for a chair that you described.
You suppose. Now, when you said you suppose, it sounds like we potentially solved the space problem, and there's something else that's holding you back. What's another problem that could come up for you if that small chair were there?
Well, Judith, you mentioned that you would like...
Hold on. I what?
I prompt I statements to prevent crossovers.
Okay, go ahead. What's the other? It's,
I heard you say that you would like to spend more time in the space with me.
Right.
But quite honest,
hold on, just-
and
ta-da! Okay.
and I would enjoy that. I have no problem getting a chair for you so you can spend time in there. And I must say that, and boy, this is not easy to say, there are times when this is my space. I need to be, I need to be alone in there. And I
So you're saying there are times when you would like to be alone in there?
there are times when I would like to be alone in that room.
I understand that. I understand that. I know that there are certain times. I just want to know that I'm welcome anyway. You know.
Hold on just a sec. He's saying to you there are times when you're not welcome. Can you accept that? That it doesn't mean he doesn't love you. There are times
He
when
just
you're
needs
not
his
welcome
space.
because, right, he needs to be alone. Sometimes.
Okay. I can accept that.
Let me say back to you what I hear as a potential solution at this point. That you'll put a small chair in that space, and there'll be an understanding that you're very welcome at many times, and there will be some times when Richard has needs of his own to have separate space.
Okay.
And let's note that this issue of how much am I a part of your life, and for you, Judith, and for you, can I have some areas that are separate? This is a theme, a concern that we'll need to explore again and more deeply also, because I have the sense that there's a lot of deep roots to those two issues. Occasional individual sessions can be helpful, especially while the couple is still combative. I schedule these sessions symmetrically, one for each spouse. I find it essential that the couple therapist conduct these individual sessions. That way, each individual's progress can be intertwined with the work of the couple. In fact, when a couple begins treatment with me, I request that they take a temporary leave of absence from any individual therapy. This policy does not always endear me to their individual therapist, but it has proven to be in the patient's best interest. I use individual sessions with Judith and Richard for symptom reduction, to help them each take responsibility for their own anger management.
Well, Judith is mad at me, and I'd like to talk about this.
Okay. What's been going on within you? I mean, obviously if she's mad, there's something going on within her as well. Let's focus on your part. What's been going on?
I recently had a visit from my brother and his 6-year-old boy, and they took over the house, and it was just getting a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. So she was mad at you, and you had the visit. There's something missing from me. What was she mad about?
Well, she was mad at the fact that I didn't put my foot down when they took over the house.
Okay.
This is our house, and
Okay. Can you close your eyes for a moment, please?
Mhm.
Picture your house.
Mhm.
What do you see as you see that scene?
We had just purchased a new piece of furniture, sofa, and as any normal 6-year-old would like, is to have some ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't eat ice cream out of the container on the new sofa.
What were you experiencing as you were watching Ken and Jeff?
I was experiencing disbelief. I was getting a little annoyed.
Closing his eyes enables Richard to track his inner experience with a new level of clarity. You weren't happy about
No.
it, and you were annoyed, concerned. So what did you do?
I found myself beginning to say something. Like, Ken, do me a favor, and just walked out.
So you did put your foot down, only you put your foot down in the direction of...
It went over to the study, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where would you rather have put your foot down?
Well, it's then and there. It's my brother. I can talk to him about these things. And
And yet there was that sense of block.
mhm.
Let's go back to that moment when you're watching the ice cream, the sofa. What are you feeling as you're focusing in on that moment? What was going on within you, that feeling? Can you feel that anger, that irritation? You
I
can
can.
feel it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the more you watch it, the more you watch them, what happens to that feeling?
the more upset I'm getting.
Okay. Now, as you focus in on that feeling within you, allow Ken and Jeff to fade out. And some other scene from earlier in your life, when you had a similar kind of feeling, allow that to come up. What are you picturing? Have there been other times in your life when you held back from saying something and felt an upset within you, irritation within you?
Well, my father had quite a temper.
Mm-hmm.
He came home from a long, hard day's work, and dinner was not ready,
Mm-hmm.
and began to scream at my mother.
So when your father got in those states, what would your mother do?
She retreated, and we would all wait until it just the sky cleared, you know.
This intervention uses a moment of intense feeling in a recent incident as a key to the sources of a counterproductive behavior pattern. In this case, Richard's withdrawal when he's angry.
So if you look back on that scene in your family when your dad would get upset like that, you would have that feeling of tightness. Your mother would be cowering or retreating. Okay, now let's look at what happened between you and your brother. What was the same in that scene for you? Was the feeling the same in that scene?
I was pissed at him for conducting himself in my house the way he was. You don't do that as an adult in someone's house.
So you were feeling an anger, pissed at him.
Yeah.
What's the same about that moment? Your feelings at that moment and what was going on at that moment? And when you used to see those outbursts of anger that you described your father having, what's the piece that's the same?
The two questions, what is the same in the past and present, and then what is different, enable a patient to recognize the patterns of anger in his family of origin. Later, we'll discuss how these experiences have shaped his behaviors today.
I would get angry and then want to avoid it and just go away.
Avoiding impulse and going away. Now, as you look at those two scenes, what's really different?
What's different? My father was filled with this power. There's a lot of anger inside him, and he just let it out all the time.
Mm-hmm. And you felt, next to all that power, how did you feel?
Often helpless.
Mm-hmm. Helpless. Big or little?
Helplessness tells me that Richard experiences what I call a depressive collapse in the face of anger.
The bigger he seemed, the bigger his anger,
Mm-hmm.
the smaller we all felt.
I focus him on his subjective experience of size because I regard depression as a disorder of power that accompanies anger suppression.
Now, look at the relationship between you and Ken. How do you usually feel toward Ken? Bigger, smaller?
It's not that.
Your hand is saying pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Notice what happens as he begins doing something that you want him to stop. What happens to your sense of your size in that scene when his son is eating the ice cream?
I became small because I didn't do anything about it.
Here I use visualization to discover new behaviors.
Okay, so let's run that scene a couple of new ways.
Guys, would you mind not eating the ice cream in the living room? Would you mind going into the kitchen and finishing?
How do you feel as you said at that time?
Relieved. It seemed so simple and pleasant.
Is that a way of acting that you use in a lot of your life, in other parts of your life?
I'm struck by how easily Richard visualizes this reasonably assertive behavior.
How about with Judith? What might you convey to her?
Well, I'll tell her that Judith, I'm just as upset as you are. There's no need for you to get on my case about this. Just a second here. I'm going to talk to him. I can talk to Ken, and we'll get this problem straightened out. But for us to have an argument over this is senseless.
How do you see her responding when you say that?
I think she would appreciate that. I really do.
Bravo. You can open your eyes. I want to be sure we understand what just happened. You learned a way of responding to people who are angry or doing something you don't like from growing up in your family.
Family of origin exploration can also be done with both partners present, with the added benefit of facilitating deeper understanding by the other partner.
If you look at your mother's way of responding to your dad, it was similar to what you as a kid were doing. So you had the modeling from her. In a sense, you're replaying with Judith what your mother used to do with your dad.
I'll encourage Richard to share his audio tape of the session with Judith, or to discuss what he has learned with her.
Lead you to have that urge to tighten up and walk away. And yet you went beyond them today in this visualization. You could see that there are other parts of you that you can summon up, that you do use in other circumstances.
In Judith's individual session, we explored the roots of her tendency to flare up. In her large family, it had taken loud shouts to call attention to problems. I validated her use of anger as a child's effective mechanism for getting parents to attend to needs. Hearing that angry outbursts had at one time been a reasonable strategy made it easier for Judith to accept that now a different approach might work better. Effective conflict resolution results in a win-win solution. That is, both parties end up feeling that their concerns have been heard and met. This process includes 3 phases: expression of initial positions, exploration of underlying concerns, and selection of mutually satisfying solutions. With this process, conflict is transformed into collaborative problem-solving. Throughout this problem-solving process, it's up to the therapist to ensure that information is given in a way that's non-toxic and non-invasive, and that information is digested by both parties. It's also up to the therapist to ensure that the emotional intensity stays within a moderated range so that thinking can flourish. It's important to monitor what I call the 4 S's: symmetry, equal airtime; specifics, exploration of the details of the situation; short chunks, that is, speaking in brief segments rather than lengthy monologues; and summarizing in a way that validates both partners' inputs. Good morning.
Morning.
Although Richard and Judith had made unusually rapid progress in their first 6 weeks of treatment, there was considerable tension in our 7th session, as this was the moment we had agreed to discuss their hottest issue, starting a family.
I want to know if Richard has made a commitment to starting a family.
Okay.
My agenda is that I would feel more comfortable working on more of the skills, fine-tuning them, and
Okay. And the agenda that I bring is that it's important to me, if I make a commitment with the 2 of you or plan to make a decision at X date, that we go ahead with that. So how about if we go ahead with the decision making that you and I agree we had said we would do on the session, and pay real attention to skills as we do that, which means you'll have to focus on what? What do you have to keep reminding yourself to do?
to listen.
And to listen, like we've said before, for what makes sense in what she's said, not just for what's wrong with it so it can be brushed away.
Review consolidates skills and helps prepare Richard and Judith for the difficult dialogue ahead.
And the second half for you is going to be sure you actually keep doing that insight where you check in with yourself and really say what's there. Even if the voice is very quiet, you're going to be sure to listen and speak it out. Judith, what's your skills that you need to keep a focus on?
I need to remain calm and to not explode and to talk, speak gently to Richard.
Right. And what's going to help you stay calm?
Focus on myself or what I want. Not focus on myself,
Exactly,
but
both of those two.
what I want.
Keep the focus on you rather than going into talking about him,
Right.
and keep asking yourself, wait a minute, what is it that I want? Not what do I not want,
Okay.
not what did he do wrong, but what do I want right now? What do I want? And gently.
Okay.
Those are your two biggies. Okay, in a gentle way now, go ahead and share with Richard what it is that you're wanting, or ask for the information you want from him.
I want to tell him what I want, and I want to ask him too.
Good.
Can
How
I
about
do
one
that?
sentence of what you want, and then ask him a question.
Richard, I want a family. I mean, I really want a family. And I want to know if you want a family with me now. I mean, we've been here 6 sessions.
That's a very good question. Let's let him answer.
I would like to have children with you. And I do see that happening. But I hope you understand that it's
You want to see that happening, and or but?
and.
I do believe that Richard wants a family. His hesitations and use of but remind me that we will need to explore his additional concerns.
I feel like I'm being stalled again. I feel like it's like, okay, Judith, you know, maybe I feel like you're going to say 6 more sessions. Let me get everything in order, and 6 more sessions, and then 6 more, and then I'm going to be 40 years old, and then we're never going to have kids, and then what?
What did you hear her say? What's her concern?
I hear that your concern is that you think I'm stalling. You think I'm putting this off.
I feel like you are.
Well, let's take it away from you personally. But she's afraid that that is the pattern that could happen, that it could be 6 more weeks and 6 more weeks. What makes sense to you about her concern? Let's digest it.
To negotiate a mutually comfortable plan of action, each party needs to fully digest the other's underlying concerns.
Perhaps it does look as if I am trying to find ways to delay this. I'll be honest with both of you that I suppose I was until I came here to see you. We came here to see you.
Maybe you can share then with Judith what's changing for you from having come here, or what's changed so far. If you share that with Judith, that could be helpful.
I think we both changed.
I do too. I feel like
I mean, our altercations, flare-ups at home are less, which makes me feel a lot better. I would like to have this nice, consistently calm household where I can retreat. For example, when I'm in my office, I can come home and I don't have to go to my study. I have my home that I can retreat to because the whole place is calm. I suspect we'll always have our timeouts, and we'll always try to do our thing in that respect. But when we have a child,
and
I'm
sorry.
Yeah.
And when we have a child and children, it would be nice to have the whole house that way.
Does that vision appeal to you as well?
Of course.
Maybe you could share that with
me. I feel the same way, Richard, but I feel that I have worked toward that, and I feel that like things are okay. I'm getting better.
I need, apparently, a lot more time to adjust to changes. As a result of that, I am adjusting from the turmoil and the anger and the constant tension that we had and all the angst that was in our house to suddenly getting some help and acknowledging that we have now made great strides. I feel I have, and I feel you have.
I do too. I do too.
Before, I not only withdrew to my study, I withdrew inside. It's not easy to sort of admit that. And it's hard. It's hard what I'm doing. It's hard what we're doing.
I'm willing to go on if you feel it's progress is being made, but I need some sort of I need some sort of timetable so I know, you know, what I'm dealing with.
I know that you need that timetable. And I'm not sure I know how to get to that position.
I can see you're a little bit stuck. Let me offer some ideas that might help loosen things out. Let's see, Judith, you say you need something more concrete, some sort of a timetable. You're saying you still have this inner feeling of needing some more timing. And we don't want it to be another postponement. Wait, you're both looking at me as if I'm going to come up with it. I'm afraid I said
I sure hope so.
I realized I had almost fallen into the trap of rescuing them from their own decision-making. People generally know what's best for themselves, and they will feel more ownership of the solution if it comes from them.
And being completely honest with yourself, are you going to move ahead towards having children?
Yes, I would need. I'm fearful that things are going to revert back.
We continued to piece together their underlying concerns.
If you feel it's
Judith realized that her panicky feelings about time grew out of watching her older sister, now 40, struggle with infertility.
I need some sort of timetable so I know, you know, what I'm dealing with.
If I could see for a month or so that how am I doing?
What would you like to see in that month?
I'd like to see just a nice calm sea.
And Richard, in order to keep that calm sea, it's important that you also really clarify a commitment, because otherwise the continued non-commitment is itself provocative.
With these deeper understandings, they designed a plan of action responsive to both of their concerns.
You'd like a month more of consolidating and then to go for it.
They would stop using birth control after an additional 1 month of calm, and they would remain in therapy for as long as either of them felt the need.
I love you so much right now. To tell him that.
We continued to explore issues and to consolidate skills, practicing with minor controversies that had occurred during each week. The emotional tone was quite benign. Consequently, Judith and Richard were surprised and distressed when suddenly, seemingly out of the blue, Judith erupted with another angry episode. What happened?
We had a little problem.
Big problem.
Big problem?
Big problem.
Big.
Have you two talked about it yet?
No.
No.
Okay, so it's still pretty live. We've talked before about the pattern to go through to help you talk over upsetting things. Sounds like this is one where I'll need to walk you through the steps. That sound right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, remember we'll start with one of you. Why don't you start since you look pretty upset?
Okay.
Share with Judith what you were experiencing during the time of this upset. You don't need to tell me about it first, just talk with each other.
If you recall, we had chosen a perfect day. We got lucky with the weather. Put the skis on the car and off we went. We found this great trail. I picked up some speed. I go down the little rise, and I'm ahead of you. And I sort of slow down, look around, check my watch. Well, she'll be by any minute. At that moment, it was time. You should have been there. I began to counter, to go back up, to find you. And I turn around and see these eyes. Your eyes were, there was fire, there was hatred in
There was not hatred in my eyes.
I'm telling
Richard.
you, I'm telling you what I saw.
Richard,
That's not fair.
Especially when Judith is feeling so tense. The rule about crossover is about staying in your arena and talking about you is really important. So what I'm hearing you say is that what seemed like out of the blue, Judith was there and really angry.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I was angry.
Okay, how about if we pick up what your experience was?
I was angry. I don't know why exactly I was angry, but I can tell you exactly what happened in a nutshell.
Share with Richard, because there's
We
clearly
were
some
we were
pieces
we
he
were
doesn't know
cross
about.
country skiing like we regularly do, and Richard, there was a huge part that I couldn't get down. I mean, there was that, remember that bump,
Mm-hmm.
that last part, and I couldn't get down that, and I waited for you for about 2 seconds. I called your name out about 4 times, and you weren't there, so I just did it by myself. I could have broken my leg. I could have done anything. It was just a very hard point for me, and I needed you to be there.
There's something missing from me here. Judith, can you close your eyes for a minute and let's track this? You said just now it was a very hard point for me,
Yes.
and I needed you to be there.
I was standing there all by myself. I was waiting for him to come back and get me, and he didn't come.
And you were standing there all by yourself. A hard point, and you needed him to be there. Allow an image to come up of some other time in your life when you've had that same intense feeling and you needed someone to be there.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah, what's the scene that was coming up? Can you talk about that?
It's too hard for me to go there.
Mm-hmm. You saw something pretty strong.
Well, my
What-
father died.
Are you ready to go there now?
When my father died, I was all alone. And I felt abandoned, and nobody was there for me. And that's how I felt when I was at that hill. I know it sounds stupid, but I was all alone.
You're not stupid at all. It sounds very similar. Can you tell Richard some about what happened when your father died? Even if he knows some about it already, share what's the same.
It's just when my dad died, no one was around to do anything. And I was so young, and everybody expected me to do everything. My dad was always around for all the good stuff, but when he died, that was it. And I feel like you're around for the good stuff, but when something was important to me, and when I was all alone, you weren't there. And that's why I was angry. Because I felt like you were abandoning me.
Judith, what would have been helpful at that moment from Richard? Can you share with him what it is that you were wanting?
I wanted him to be there. I wanted you to be there. I wanted you to be looking out for me. Because you went over that spot before me, so I wanted, in my mind, I just thought, well, that's going to be difficult for her. Let me go back and help her. And I just felt like you weren't there.
Yeah, this is sad because it sounds like had there been a few more minutes, you would have been there. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. I don't even think it was a couple of minutes.
It felt like forever.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long it was.
Mm-hmm.
If you had stayed where we had separated
Yeah.
because you were afraid to continue on,
Well, I thought I had to keep going because I felt like I had to be with you. I just wanted to find you.
I would have circled back as I had begun to circle back.
How do you feel as you hear what Richard is saying? Can you share with him?
Well, I feel silly that I didn't trust you.
Mm-hmm. And if you weren't feeling silly, because I sure don't want you to feel bad about this, what would you be feeling?
Well, I feel that he wasn't actually trying to abandon me.
Uh-huh. And when you hear that he wasn't actually trying to abandon you, and really take a look at him and let that sink in, what happens to the anger?
It goes away.
Mm-hmm. And what's in its place?
I feel taken care of. And that makes me feel good.
Well, I don't know about you guys. Go ahead. But I've just learned something that I hadn't really appreciated at all before about your anger and about what you can do different to be more helpful when Judith is getting angry. What I see now that I didn't see before is you get angry when you're afraid. Is that accurate?
Yes.
If you could just tell him you're afraid instead of getting angry at him, that you feel scared. If Judith says to you, I feel scared, tell her what your impulse would be to do.
I protect you. I don't want you to be scared.
I don't want to be scared.
Judith and Richard's therapy lasted 21 sessions over a period of 6 months, and including 2 individual sessions for each of them. In a follow-up session, 6 weeks after treatment, Judith and Richard expressed pleasure and relief. Their progress was holding. They had had several minor upsets. In each case, they were able to disengage, quiet themselves down, re-engage, and talk through the problem. In this calmer home environment, Richard felt increasingly comfortable, and Judith felt she had received the long-desired commitment from Richard to begin raising a family.